evening. Thank you all for joining me on this Tuesday. A bit earlier than I normally do the live streams. I usually do them on a Thursday, but I'm going away later this week, so I wanted to get one out of the way before I went away. And just really carrying on the theme of the video that I dropped on, when was it now? Friday? On Christmas Horror. Just a little bit early. December hasn't started yet, but you start doing these things well into December, everybody's kind of covering it. So I thought I'd get there first, and it gives the videos time to sort of gather a bit of momentum, I guess. So on the video that hopefully some of you have watched, the video that I did last week was a bit of a labor of love. It took me a week to put that together, just researching, editing. I was never that happy with it, and then started again, and bits and bats didn't quite work. And I think I got there in the end. But there were movies that I couldn't include. Christmas, because it was primarily slasher based, was that video. And the link, if you haven't seen it, folks, it's kind of like a sort of mini documentary 20-minute film that I put together. The link is in the description down below. I put a little preview on this episode at the start. When you click on the link, you would see the first sort of minute of the video. It's down below. Have a check it out when you get a minute. It's kind of, I think there's like 12 Christmas slashers on there or something like that. Slasher's my favorite subgenre, so I thought I'd start with that. But as the months go on, what I want to do is I want to dive deeper into the kind of slasher subgenre, and because there's all sorts of little areas of it, little corners of it, like school slashers, campfire slashers, slashers in space, slashers in the wood. There's all sorts of different things, and I think I can cover maybe about 8 to 10 different slasher subgenres with these little documentary videos. And as I kind of do them more regularly, they'll become easier to do, so I won't have to spend a week on them. I did send a video out to a few people to have a look at before I put it out there. Thank you to those people who watched it and gave me feedback. That's really, I was really grateful for that. And thanks to Dave as well for allowing me to use some It's Me Billy stuff in there, because I think it's important in the Black Christmas canon. So, what did I want to do today? Now, today you are going to see some of those movies again. Maybe 2 or 3 I'm going to talk about a little bit more. But I also wanted to include some of those Christmas horror movies that I couldn't include in that little mini documentary that I did. Some of them I've gone for some deep cuts. Some of them are really obvious ones. But they're all kind of decent in their own right. Some of them you might not have heard of. I know there's one on there that really took me by surprise when I watched it. And it'd be good to share it with you guys if you haven't seen it, because it was a little movie that went to streaming with some big stars in it, but I'm not sure many people watched it. The marketing on it really threw people. And when you watch this film, which we'll talk about, I think, in about 5 or 10 minutes, when you watch this particular movie, it's very dark and bleak. But we'll get to it in a minute. Let me say hello to those of you in the chat. There's 36 of you here at the moment. That's really good, considering we're not doing one of the live votes or anything like that. Chester's here, Gory Tiger, Brandon, Tony Four Eyes. Who else have we got? Myers Fan says, yo. And yo to you, sir. After I did the episode a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned that I hadn't seen You're So Cool, Brewster, this arrived. Thank you very much to Myers Fan for sending me that. That's it's 5.5 hours or something like that of documentary, which I am yet to see. So Andrew, thank you so much for sending me that. I'm looking forward to watching it. I haven't got round to it yet, so I've been a little busy. But hopefully, maybe what I might do, maybe over the weekend I might watch this. Maybe on Sunday or something. Oh, and by the way, Sunday, remember I spoke to you a few weeks ago about a new kind of live series that I wanted to do as well? I'm going to do a trial run of that on Sunday. but it'll be pre-recorded because I want to make sure that it works. Sorry, Saturday afternoon. I'm going to do a pre-record of it just as a test to see if it works. Going to edit it together, put it out there, see what you guys think, see if it's a format that works, and then I'll transition that to a live show. But I just want to be sure that what I've got in my head actually works first, and the best way to do that is to invite a friend on to pre-record it and see if we can get it to gel as a format. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do 2 of those, I think. 2 pre-records. If they work, I'll put them out there for you guys to see. If they don't, if they just don't work whatsoever, we'll never see or hear of them ever again, and I'll move on to something else. But I think it will work. If what I've got in my head comes to fruition, I think it will work. But yes, Saturday I'm going to record the first one of those, and then I should put it out on hopefully Sunday, I think, if I can pull it all together in time. But that should be exciting because it is something different, and it's all based around 80s horror. And when it comes to a live show, we get you involved as well. You'll be able to offer an opinion, a vote, or something like that. But I've been working on it for the past few weeks. Just need to get some visuals for it and things like that, because it is kind of not a game as such, but will maybe pan out that way. We'll see. It's competitive. I'm just at the process of talking to 2 people at the moment who are on board, who are gonna trial it with me, and they seem to think it's a fairly simple format. So hopefully it will work. Can't wait to share that with you. Thanks again, Andrew, for that. That's really that's really welcome. I can't wait to watch it, and can't wait to watch this as well. This Dark Star 4K turned up the other day. I must have ordered it when I was pissed or something because I hate the film. I really want to give it another go. There's all sorts of goodies in there and everything, so I'll give that a go at some point soon. It is a movie that I've never been able to get on board with of Carpenter's, and I'm going to try again because I know Brandon's a huge fan. Brandon, my moderator there, is a huge fan of this, and I want to be able to tell him that I've given it a second and a third and a fourth chance, and maybe I still think it's crap. I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, the guy won an Oscar for it, right? No, he didn't win an Oscar for this. He won an Oscar for Resurrection of Bronco Billy. That was it. Get your facts right. Alan says, how do you find time to work, Darren? You're the hardest working. I'm not the hard. No, I know somebody else who's a lot harder working than I am. No, I'm fortunate enough that I don't have children. So I do get to, there's just me and my wife. And so I do get to spend, we have busy working lives, and she works a lot harder than I do. So she gets in a lot later than I do. And so I do get time to do work on channels and things like that. So this won't be too long tonight. It's only going to be about an hour and a half or something. So I won't be here for the next 2.5 hours like we do with the 80s voting episodes. Andrew says, you swore you were not going to buy that, Darren. I did. You know what? It turned up, and I was thinking, when the hell did I buy that? And I think it must have been like one of those, like I was sat in the chair late one night just browsing and thought, oh, fuck it, I'll buy it. I've got pretty much everything else he's ever done. So I think it was a drunken purchase, I think. Yeah, we'll see anyway. I'm willing to give it another go. And it's in 4K. So, yeah, be interesting. Do you know when you buy these and they rattle inside, like everything's come loose? It really does get on my nerves. It really does. Okay, so let's move over to my other window here. One second, let me just check the chat again. Darren reconfirming he hates kids. I don't hate kids at all. There are sometimes reasons why people don't have kids. Not having crotch goblins is such a blessing sometimes. Crotch goblins, what a word for them. Fortunate. Well, you know what? Like we've always sort of said that we don't we end up leaving a kid in a pub or something like that. No, I know. I just whenever I like to be able to give kids back afterwards, like my nephews when they were younger, I used to spend time with them, and it'd be good to give them back at the end of the day. I really, really am in some ways, like I said, fortunate that I don't have kids as much as I love kids, because it enables me to do things like this. Things like go out without having to worry about kids and this, that, and the other. I'm not making a good job at this, am I? My husband says, if anyone has yet to check out Darren and Nigel's Arrow Top 10 and want a good laugh, check them out after this. Yeah, that was good. Thanks to Nigel. That was a great episode. It was. We just recorded it one Saturday morning, and once we get talking, it's kind of long enough for 2 episodes. And I think we spoke for a good sort of hour, 45 minutes to 2 hours. And this is the 3rd time we've done it now, and I think I've always divvied them up into 2 episodes. But we'll do some more for sure further down the line. He's always good to have on. Everybody seems to like him, and they do well. He has a good following, does Nigel, on his channel there. And if you haven't subscribed to him or seen his channel, go over and check it out. Rock God 2004. Funny guy. We always have a good giggle when he's on. He's good. I like him a lot. Kids are like antibiotics, okay in small doses. Always gives back, Darren, if they're not yours, says Tony Four Eyes. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, another one that came through, which I wasn't sure why I bought, was that as well. That came through. I think I knew what I was doing when I bought that, though, because my wife went to see it and enjoyed it. So I thought, you know what, I'll have a look. Anything else here that I got? Let me just have a look, see if I got any more purchases. Oh, the Criterion Breakfast Club. I'm a big fan of Breakfast Club, but no slip. No bloody slip. What are they doing? The last 2 Criterions have had slips, and that hasn't. Anyway. And the other one was Steelbook of The Running Man. Christmas tree. There we go. Okay, let me move over to this screen here. 10 must-watch Christmas horror movies. Well, must-watch. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have seen these already, but I just thought it'd be nice to talk about some of these. I'm going to go with these are not in any particular order. They're kind of, I didn't rank them because I just find it so difficult to rank things. But there are 10 that I would watch if they were on TV. I've taken some of the obvious ones out that were kind of some of the heavy hitters from the episode that I did the other day. The Silent Night, Deadly Night, that's not in there. What else isn't in there? Christmas Evil I took out as well, because I did an episode on that on TSL a few years ago with Frank. What else did I take out? I didn't include Black Christmas as well, another one that we've talked about a hell of a lot. So I'm not going to talk about those today. What's that, Logan? Darren, it cracks me up when you call a movie a grubby little picture. Well, there's a few grubby little pictures in this that we're going to talk about now. But yeah, I mean, first off, I should mention a movie that I probably wasn't as into as I should have been at the time. I don't know. I think just growing up, being a 12-year-old boy, 12-year-old boy, at the time of the massive video nasties scare or whatever you want to call it in this country, controversy, Gremlins just really wasn't on my radar. I was looking for the Christmas Evils and the Silent Night, Deadly Nights and things, even though they weren't video nasties, but that type of thing. I was too busy watching Dawn of the Dead and zombie flesh eaters and crap, all sorts of nonsense, because they were taken away from us, those films. They become more desirable. And so you would go well out of your way to try and find these films. Hey, Cody, how are you doing? You would go way out of your way to try and find these films. And sort of a lot of movies around the sort of mid-80s period I didn't catch up on until later. And Gremlins was not... I'm trying to remember now if I saw Gremlins in the cinema. I don't think I did. But when I did see it, for me, it was... I was just a bit, meh. I wasn't that fussed. I thought it was okay. And I do have, I probably feel better about it as I've got older. But at the time, Gremlins for me wasn't really on my radar. It was one of those that I wasn't that. It was just like, it wasn't a movie that was banned in the UK, so it just didn't interest me whatsoever. But having said that, if it was on TV now, I'd get a hell of a lot of enjoyment from it. I really would. And I'm excited for whatever Chris Columbus is going to do with the new film that's coming out next. Is it 27 or? Yeah, I think it's 27, isn't it? Hopefully we get Zach Galligan, Phoebe Cates, you know, all the old band back together for it. A shame that Joe Dante isn't involved, but I just don't think he's got the interest to direct it. I think a lot of people were saying, oh, he's been shafted, this, that, and the other. I just don't think he cares anymore. If you listen to his podcast, he doesn't really have any interest in directing anymore. I certainly don't get that impression from him, you know, that he's itching to direct another film. How old would Joe Dante be now? In his 70s? So, I mean, Chris Columbus isn't much young. I think Chris Columbus is in his 60s, I think, isn't he? He's a bit younger than Joe Dante. But yeah, I think Chris Columbus is a good choice. I think, you know, he can pull something like this together, and he was involved in the first film, so why the hell not? Decent. I mean, great reviews when it came out. 86% Rotten Tomatoes is the score at the moment. A really cool blend of comedy, horror, and great Christmas atmosphere in this film. I guess really groundbreaking puppetry and creature effects. Iconic puppets in there as well, with like Gizmo and Stripe. And really kind of, I guess, sort of genre-defining designs as well on the creatures. We'd never seen really anything like that before. The cast are memorable, as I said already. I hope Zach Galligan, you know, he's not really doing anything other than treading the boards at conventions and things like that. I really hope he gets an opportunity to come back in this. I'm sure he will. In some way, shape, or form, because it is a sequel, I believe, isn't it? It's not like a kind of redo or anything. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I really am. What else can we say about it? Spielberg, there's that old story about Piranha, isn't there? So in the late 70s, Piranha was coming out not long after or before, I can't remember what order they were now, Jaws 2, and Universal tried to get Piranha stopped from being released. And Joe Dante showed Steven Spielberg the film, and Spielberg absolutely loved it and said, "Why would we want to stop this film? It's you know, it's okay. It's a little bit of a spoof, but you know, the guy's a talented director and he's made a really strong movie." And from that moment where Universal were trying to get Piranha cancelled, a relationship was struck up between Joe Dante and Steven Spielberg, and so, you know, he ends up working for him. Fantastic. You know, he makes The Howling, and after The Howling, he sees that he can do creature movies, and so employs him to do Gremlins. I think it's a great little story there, whereas once a studio's trying to cancel one thing, and from that a great relationship's born. So really looking forward to whatever they decide to do with Gremlins. But I was always kind of more on the Critters side of things. A little bit more edgier with the Critters, I thought. Certainly the first two movies were fun. But let's see what some of you guys say. Dante is 78. Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, I knew he was knocking on now. Still never seen Gremlins, says Paul H. Yes, more of a comedy. Dante's output has really declined over the years. I'm glad he's not making anything. We don't need another Argento. Yeah, well, you know, everybody has their peak, don't they? Everybody has their heyday. It just happened to Carpenter. There's lots of directors that were... Look at Landis as well. You know, Landis was sky high at one point, and then as things go on, he starts churning out Beverly Hills Cop 3, and Innocent Blood was okay, I guess. But yeah, some real tosh as he got older. Andrew says, Dave's Poltergeist episode regarding Spielberg Hooper is a cracking little insight around the making. Yeah, definitely worth watching. If you haven't seen that, Dave did a great kind of like 6 or 7 minute video on the dynamic between Spielberg and Tobe Hooper on the set of Gremlins. And I agree with everything that he said. Yeah, it's definitely got Spielberg's fingerprints all over it as Poltergeist, but Tobe Hooper did direct it. You know, he's credited as being a director. It's just that dynamic that they had was that Spielberg was a hell of a lot more hands-on than your usual producer. Evil Alex says it as creatures going mayhem and killing people. It's definitely playing in the horror genre around. It's not straight up a family or a comedy. I would definitely say it's a horror comedy. I love the film. Good. Okay, let's move on to my next choice, which is this. Krampus, a movie that I only saw. When did I see Krampus now? I saw it about 3 years ago for an episode that we did, and I ended up buying the director's cut of it, which is a little bit more edgier on some of the language and stuff. But again, Krampus, I wasn't really expecting the tone that you got with this film. I mean, great creature effects, a good mixture of CG and practical work in this film. Directed by Michael Dougherty, who did Trick or Treat, not the Sammy Kerr one, but the little what do they call him now? The little pumpkin head dude. I've forgotten what his name is now. Sam, I think it is, isn't it? I think it is. Yeah. Toni Collette, Adam Scott, David Kochner. Who else was in it now? Alison Tolman, I'm seeing on my list here. Really, I think the problem I had, I really enjoyed it, and I liked the tone. It had a real Amblin type feel to it. It also had a bit of Christmas Vacation feel to it as well, with the uncle in there, who was kind of like a poor man's Eddie from Christmas Vacation. But I really enjoyed it. I did. And some really neat little creature effects as well with the gingerbread men, things like that. I loved the Krampus squaring up to the grandma at the end when they come face to face. There's some really cool shots in that moment. However, I did guess the ending of this. I won't give it away if you haven't seen it, but I did guess the ending because some of the marketing was a little bit, I don't know, I guess clumsy, I think. So yeah, but Krampus was a movie I came to 5 years too late, 5 or 6 years too late. Was better than I was expecting because it didn't perform too well at the box office. I think it did. It was a budget of 15 million, only took around about 60 million worldwide. With that cast at the time and the director behind it, the fact that it was a seasonal movie as well, I think globally you would have expected a little bit more than that. But yeah, 61 million worldwide, pre-pandemic as well. So box office numbers were a little bit more healthier than they are at the moment. But yeah, great work from Weta in this film. Also, a really good mix of really dark comedy and festive horror. A lot more kind of, I say, darker than what you get in Gremlins. And as I said, great effects work throughout. Really, really cool practical effects. What else can I say about it? Yeah, Krampus, if you haven't seen it, I would recommend it for sure. I would recommend it. They don't make a lot, like, it was quite a healthy budget and a really strong cast. Like Adam Scott and Toni Collette, would they do a film like this today? Probably not. So I think it's a nice little time capsule with some really, really cool talent in there. And like I say, there's Weta do a great job. They really do. Let me know what you think about Krampus in the chat, if you were a fan of it. Chunky Geordie says, I'm not really into Christmas horror. Oh, sorry about that, Gina. Gremlins is fun, but I've never found it scary. No, I'm not sure. I mean, it's kind of like a gateway horror film is Gremlins, isn't it? We'll get into some more hardcore stuff in a bit. But I've never found it scary, not even as a kid. My older brother got jumps off films more than me, and he was 7 years older. Evil Alex says, definitely one of the better modern Christmas horror films. Yeah, I'd say so. I'll see anything with Toni Collette in it. She excels in movies where she gets to play off weird family dynamics. That's the thing about Toni Collette. Toni Collette can throw her hand at absolutely anything, be it a drama, a horror. I've seen her do action before, musicals. She can chuck herself into any role that you want her to. She's fantastic. She's one of the best actresses around, I think, for sure. Definitely. I remember years ago in the 90s when I worked in a cinema, this movie came in and I was like, what the fuck is this? I don't want to watch this, because we had to QC every film before we put them out to the public. And I went down to watch this little movie called Muriel's Wedding, which Toni Collette was in. It was the film that really kind of put her on the map 20 odd years ago. And it was terrific. Great little fun movie. And she's so talented. She really is. Myers fan says, Krampus is really well done, definitely made for a modern day audience and has found its feet on streaming. The unrated is the way to go with it. Yeah, that's the one it's the only version I've seen, actually. And it was interesting when we did the episode on it, that we would come, because Frank had watched the theatrical version, I'd watched the director's cut, and there were a lot of differences. It was a lot more on the nose was the director's cut. Violent Night is a consideration. Yeah, we'll maybe get to that shortly. Darren Garrett says, missing my TSL fix at the moment. When is the next video coming down? Not sure. We're just taking a break at the moment from, and I would imagine it won't be anytime soon because of Thanksgiving and Christmas and things like that. So, but you know, we'll definitely, as we said in the note, we're taking an extended break. We just have to do this from time to time. You know, we've been at it for 5 years over on TSL, and you know, you just have to recharge, think about what direction you want to go in with the channel. But you know, we'll let you guys know. Never seen Krampus, but we'll definitely check it out, says Alan. Yeah, I think you'll like it, Alan. I think you'll like it. And Brandon says, yeah, she's someone who can play anything. It's a shame she wasn't nominated for Hereditary. She deserved to win the award for that and was snubbed. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. Class act is Toni Collette. Okay, this next one, I'd like to be interested to... I'd forgotten about this next film. And somebody in the chat a few episodes ago brought this movie up, and I thought, you know what? I haven't seen that movie for a long time, and I should go back and watch it again. And I did. I didn't actually watch it all, but I skimmed through it this evening just to refresh myself. It's probably not doing it any justice. I should have probably watched it, but I didn't have the time. But I wanted to include it because I remember really liking it at the time. And it's a British movie from 2009, I believe, called The Children. Now, how many of you seen this? Because it's a really creepy little movie. It's basically a couple of families who get together in this kind of remote country house for Christmas. And the kids get infected by something. I'm pretty sure you don't know what they're infected by. But they start turning on their parents. And it starts with little things and then just moves on to absolute all-out carnage. Really creepy. There's nothing worse, I think, than creepy kids. And it's got real... It has sort of Omen vibes in parts. But I was not expecting what you get with this film. And it has a lot of really cool Christmas vibes. But as this thing unfolds, it's quite a nasty picture. Let's have a look at the chat, see if any of you have seen this. Evil Alex says, never seen it, put it on the list. It's well worth a watch, and you can probably catch it on... It must be on a streaming service or something like that. It's well worth a watch. Horrible film. Christ, I can't even watch it. It's so fucked up. I didn't think it was quite that bad. Maybe it's because I don't have kids. Maybe that's what... Gina says The Children is a good film. It is a good film. It is a good film. Directed by Tom Shankland. Like I said, it was released in December. It was released Christmas 2008, actually. I thought it was 2009. It's 2008. It really didn't do that well at the box office at all. It just took around about £100,000 on its opening weekend. I would imagine it was one of these low-budget thrillers that you would get that would cost around about 2 or 3 million or something like that. The cast is nobody of any real there are British character actors. If you're British, you would recognise them. Eva Berthistle, Stephen Campbell Moore, Hannah Toynton, Jeremy Sheffield. Two families gather in a remote country home for Christmas when a mysterious infection spreads. The children become violent killers, leaving their adults fighting to survive the snowbound nightmare. 73% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is genuinely unsettling, is this film. It's got a really, really cool winter atmosphere and that feeling of isolation. They are pretty much in the middle of nowhere. Really good performances from the kids. You can't fault the kids in this. They're as creepy as hell. It's tight. It's tense. It's got good pacing throughout. And there's really smart use of the scenery in the film as well, just to show you how sort of isolated they are. It's a shame it didn't do better than it actually did. I actually really, really rate this film. And it's kind of inspired by the by Village of the Damned a little bit. And is it the Midwich Cuckoos as well, which was, I think, the original inspiration for Village of the Damned as well. So if you haven't seen it, folks, check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's not one of these films whereas they're like walking around in styrofoam bits and stuff, you know, trying to make it look like snow. They actually did film it in freezing temperatures, so you do get that sense of it's fucking cold throughout this film, both in temperature and atmosphere as well. So yeah, well worth a watch. Let me just go back to the chat and see if anybody else is talking about it here. Oh, you Myers fan says, I meant that in a good way. That it's really fucked up. It is. Hey Kelly, good to see you. Andrew follows up with, it's definitely because I had young kids when I first saw it on DVD. Eli Cortez says, what's up, Darren, and all you Sans fans? Eli Cortez also says, don't forget to slash that like button and sub to this amazing channel. Yeah, that'd be great. Look, I know how annoying it is when people ask this, and I say this all the time, but, you know, it doesn't cost anything. It takes you a split second. If you haven't subbed before, it really does help the channel. Helps me out, helps the channel out, helps with engagement. And if you don't sub, you may not see the next episode that comes along. So there is that benefit there as well. What else have we got? Might have a rewatch this week. Yeah, like I say, I skimmed through it today and just watched bits, and I was like, geez, I could really do with sitting down and watching this all again. Darren Garrett says, Australian actors are taught to be very versatile. Look at Hugh Jackman. Most of them start in Neighbours or other Aussie soaps and then broaden themselves from there, like Kylie Minogue. Yeah, it's the same in the UK as well. Same in the UK. Brandon says, that's a good idea for an episode. Best children deaths in horror thriller films. I nominate Kim Richards in Assault on Precinct 13. I wanted Vanilla Twist. Yeah, thwack. Yeah, that's a nasty old death, is that. Liana, good to see you, Liana. Thank you for the birthday wishes, by the way, the other day. The kid who got killed in Maximum Overdrive, Coke can over the head. Oh my god, yeah, I've forgotten about that. And thank you everyone else for all the birthday wishes. That was really kind of everybody. And that wasn't me on that picture on the Facebook page. It might look like me, but I tell you, I would have died for straight hair like that when I was a kid. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Let's move on from the children. I highly recommend it, folks. That's your homework, is to track that film down. A really creepy little British movie. We weren't going to do Silent Night, Deadly Night, but I did choose Silent Night because I watched this when it first came out back in 2012. And I have to say, I wasn't really that taken by it. And then as I was doing that little kind of documentary thing that I spoke to you about, which is as I said earlier, it's linked below. It's basically the evolution of the Christmas slasher. Check it out, folks. It really, really does deserve, if I say so myself, it deserves a watch. It took, just because it took me so long to do it, that's all. Do me a favor and watch it, because it took me a week to cut it together. That's my ask for today. Silent Night, the sort of pseudo remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night that came out in 2012. Had a smallish budget, $5 million. Stephen C. Miller directed it. Didn't really do anything at the box office at the time. In fact, I think it had a really limited theatrical release just in the US. I certainly don't remember it coming out in the UK at all. Added a little bit of class to it by putting Malcolm McDowell in there, Jamie King, Donald Logue, I think his name was, Ellen Wang, Brendan Fair. A mass killer dressed as Santa descends on a small town, punishing the naughty. A determined deputy tracks the murderer in this loose remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night. Yeah, it's slightly different to the original. However, I'd passed this off as not being that good. But when I watched it again last week, I actually really enjoyed it. I think it looks great as a horror film. I think it's shot really well. I think the performances are decent. There's some really nasty moments in it. They don't shy away with the gore. And I think, it's got some really, like I say, some really brutal kills, some strong practical effects as well. A great holiday or Christmas atmosphere. Michael McDowell? Is it Michael McDowell? Malcolm McDowell. He brings like a real kind of charm to it. It pays homage to the original without feeling overly sort of modernized. It's lean, it's fast paced. The kills and the set pieces are really smart as well. I think it's decent. I really do. I think it's worth a watch. However, there is a remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night coming out in just a couple of weeks. But, as part of that sort of franchise overall, it's certainly, I think, so far, because I haven't seen the remake yet, but I mean, it's far better than any of the sequels that came out of Silent Night, Deadly Night, and a hell of a lot more subtler than the original Silent Night, Deadly Night. So definitely worth a watch, I think. Tone's a bit uneven at times, I guess, but, and now and again, I guess the budget limitations do show on it. But I think overall they did a fairly decent job. I think it's worth a watch, and it has one or two set pieces in there that you probably wouldn't get in a horror movie today, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. Is that Rock God Tooth? Is that Nigel in the poster after a heavy night? Tony Four Eye says it's just as bad as the original. It is grubby. I would say that it is grubby. His performance was sizzling hot. Yeah. Shh. Silent Night is a decent little film. I like it. Yeah, I was surprised at how well it's held up. I really was. I wouldn't suggest a flame that close to synthetic hair. Yeah, no, me neither. I think it doesn't really come off too well on the poster here, but there are some shots in the film where he does look really, really unsettling looking, does this Santa. So yeah, definitely check it out, folks. Check it out. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And this film is called, remember at the start I spoke about probably a movie that none of you would have seen. It's this one. It's called Silent Night. I watched this. I saw this before it was released, just through work, for a reason through work. It was put to us as a proposition, and we didn't take them up on it, but it went to Netflix. And I watched this and I thought, I'll try and be as there's not. It's difficult for me to talk about it without giving this film away. It's completely different to what you expect. If you've seen it, please don't spoil it in the chat. I wouldn't say it's a out and out horror, but as the movie unfolds, it's really unsettling and quite horrific. It is. You don't know. So basically, a group of friends come together at this for a really luxurious Christmas dinner in this massive mansion in the English countryside. And you don't know why this is happening, and slowly it starts to unfold as to why they've all come together. And I'll leave it at that. I don't want to spoil it, but it will be really... You'll be surprised by it, I think. Horror fans, I think, will go for this. In the same way that... now, what was the film? There was a film last year that wasn't a horror film, but had horror elements in it. The Saltburn. In the same way that horror fans embraced Saltburn. If you've seen Saltburn, I think it's a similar kind of thing. You know, I don't mean that the subject matter's the same, but it's a movie that really takes a really dark and bleak twist. And yeah, it's not your usual Keira Knightley sugar-coated nonsense that you get from her. It's Matthew Good in there, Annabelle Wallis, Lily Rose Depp's in there as well. Sophie Dirisu, who's the gentleman on the left at the front, who's been in all sorts of fairly big stuff recently. It's quite a really, it's a big cast, but a movie that just didn't work in terms of couldn't find its audience. And when you watch it, you'll understand why. Tony Foray says, anything with an IO poster that bad, I ain't watching. That was the only one I could find. But that looks to me like a proper Netflix poster. Thank you, Neil. I did. Liana says, looks like we have a movie to watch, Dean. Oh, okay. There you go. Don't blame me. Honestly, don't blame me. I haven't seen this, but now I'm intrigued. Brandon, I think you would really like it. I think you would. Silent Night with Malcolm McDowell, or is this Silent Night? Count me in. No, it's Silent Night with Malcolm McDowell. Oh, there's two. There was two Silent Nights back to back. I would say that the more disturbing of the two is this one. There we go. The Joan Collins Christmas segment from 1972, Tales from the Crypt, is great. Yes. Yeah. And was remade as well, wasn't it? In the 90s, I think. But yeah, it's a great... I love that segment. In fact, I think Frank and I did an episode on it. I think we did, if I remember rightly. It might have been within our favourite Christmas films or something like that, but we definitely spoke about it. What's Saltburn? Only heard of Brightburn. They're two very different films. Gina. Okay. I have to put this in here because it is the bleakest, most disturbing, goriest and scariest Christmas movie ever made. Inside. I've spoken about this infinitum. I included it in the little documentary on Christmas slashers that I did the other day. Yeah. And possibly one of my favorite horror movies of all time is this. Gore and scares are difficult to do. People tend to lean into one or the other, but this gets that balance right. It's incredibly gory, it's incredibly scary, and the one thing that I found really difficult to do was to find suitable clips for the little documentary that I did from inside, because it's such a dark movie, but when it's not dark, it's just covered in gore. So I really struggled to find decent shots to use, because if you put too much in there, then YouTube's going to flag it and you're just going to be demonetized and it won't recommend the video. And so you have to be really careful with violence in YouTube videos. And inside, there's very few moments that aren't violent in it. given it's kind of like a home invasion movie that's just sort of a chase from beginning to end. But yeah, it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and happens to be set on Christmas Eve as well. So that's one of my Christmas recommendations. I've spent my whole YouTube career recommending this film. I should be getting royalties from Julien Maury and Alexandra Bastille for this, because so many people have watched this on my recommendation. Everybody's come back and gone, what the fuck did you tell me to watch that for? What else have we got here? Like, is Inside streaming? I think you can maybe stream it on Prime. There is a great second sight version of it out there at the moment. The cover looks awesome, says Field of Screams. Inside is absolutely horrific, says Tony Four Eyes. Yeah, the cover looks great, says Eddie. Was it set on Christmas? Totally forgot. It's been a while. Yeah, it was Christmas Eve. So the premise is that a pregnant woman is in a car crash, loses her husband, and so a few months later she's on her own. She's on her own on Christmas Eve, and a woman basically comes into her house wanting something from her. And I'll leave it at that. Dave Vanderhoff says, what's up, Darren? Loving the content, lady. Happy to be in the live stream. Happy Thanksgiving to the US. Oh, of course. This Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Inside definitely doesn't look like it's for kids. No, it's not. Actually, you know what? My nephew came, this is years ago now, but my nephew, when he was about 15, 16, came to stay with me, and I'd only just seen this film. He might have even been younger, about 14. And I showed it to him, and he did enjoy it. He did enjoy it, but I think it fucked him up for a little while. And he still mentions it to me now. Whenever I see him, he always brings it up. Oh, when we watched Inside, yeah. Yeah, I watched this because of you, Darren. Thanks for that. I've said it a million times, but Inside has the most disturbingly beautiful final shots in film history. The maternal love and unsettling gore could be classic painting. Oh, it's insane. There's so many moments in this film where you will just be like, either retching or screaming or trying to get your breath, or just absolutely stunned into silence because of one moment in particular which happens that she really doesn't want to happen. That happens, and yeah, it's yeah. The woman at the window in Inside is terrifying. Yeah, of course, yeah. And Vanderhoff says Inside and High Tension are awesome. They are. Okay, moving on to another movie, which I think also maybe was streaming in the UK. Don't know about anywhere else. Let me just find I have some notes for it. Oh, yeah. Another one we did an episode on the Slaughtered Lamb. Better Watch Out. Really small budget, only 3 million. It had a very limited release, which I think was in the US, and I'm pretty sure in the UK, I think it may have gone straight to Netflix or something. Olivia DeJonge, Levi Miller, Ed Oxenbould, Patrick Warburton, Virginia Madsen plays the mum in this, and I got to admit, I didn't recognize her when I watched this film. I had to Google it and then find out that it was to just confirm it was Virginia Madsen. But yeah, Better Watch Out is this sort of Home Alone infatuation thriller about a babysitter who comes to look after this little kid over Christmas. And this sort of home invasion happens, but they flip the film halfway through. I won't tell you what happens, but it is clever. The guy the two leads, the girl and the young kid, are fantastic in it. It probably doesn't get as horrific as I wanted it to be. It's still sort of leaning into that kind of, the Kevin McAllister side of things quite heavily. And I did want a little bit more from the gore in this. However, it's great fun. It is great fun. Think of an adult version of Home Alone. I think if if you haven't seen this. And it's quite widely available on streaming, but a really well made film. It is really well made, and like I say, the lead performances are terrific. So definitely one to watch out for. Great twists in it. There's 2 or 3 twists in this film which are really worth the price of renting it alone, I think. Great dark humor as well, and as I said, the lead performances are worth watching. It's really tight. Pacing's really good. It's quite short. I think it's only about 80 odd minutes or something like that. It's not very long at all. It's kind of in and out. It is a sort of indie film, but it has, I guess, quite high production values for the fact that its budget was only $3 million. It does look like it's really well made. It's really well produced. What else can we say about it? Yeah, the other thing is as well is that people are always really divided on the ending of this film. I don't know whether it's sort of leaving it open for another. I don't think another one's happened. As far as I'm aware, there was never a Better Watch Out 2. There certainly was a baby. Remember the babysitter films? There was definitely 2 of those, but this one, no, I don't remember a sequel coming along to this. It would have been interesting. It definitely would have been interesting. And I think it was filmed in Australia, if I remember rightly. I'm pretty sure it was. Anything else I can say about it? An 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. So there you go. It's highly favoured by the critics. So if you haven't seen it, give it a go. Let's have a look in the chat and see if any of you guys have watched this one. Vanhoff says, I went into this movie blind and absolutely loved it. Never seen it, says he. Are you talking about Inside or this one? I'm not sure at the moment. Better Watch Out is really fun. You think it's going one way and it changes up. Definitely recommend. Yeah, it's a really, really nice little, it flips halfway through and oh, hang on a minute, this is interesting now. A nice, creepy, dark horror movie. Love that movie, says Devrick. Inside Second Sight release purchased, says Myers fan. Have you not seen it? Have you not seen Inside, Andrew? God, I'd be interested to see what you think. It is obviously French is Inside, and I always tend to watch it with the subtitles on, but I guess there's barely any dialogue in it anyway, so it shouldn't bother you too much. Don't tell the twist. Very shocking. Are we talking Better Watch Out or Inside here? Hails and cheers, says the other skater. I'm late to the party. Did you mention Rare Exports? Right, Rare Exports I was going to mention, but it's so long ago since I've seen it. Rare Exports is the director of Sisu, and maybe he did Deadly Games as well. And I was going to talk about it, but I couldn't properly remember the plot. I have seen it. I remember Santa chained up in that bloody cave in the mountains somewhere. A Finnish film. Well worth a watch if you haven't seen it, folks. But I needed to watch it again before I spoke about it. So I didn't include it, but I do recommend Rare Exports. Yeah, there was an Inside remake, and it's not very good. It's not half as creepy or gory as the original, and ends completely differently. So I was really disappointed that Hollywood remade it, and it was just, yeah. I've just seen it years ago on DVD, just never got around to picking it up again. Okay. And Devrick says, I'm talking about Better Watch Out. Yeah. No, I'm not giving the twist away. Don't worry about that. Okay. Let's move on to another one that I would recommend, which I did talk about on the slasher video, although it's not technically a slasher. The reason why I put it in there is because it is a super violent Santa movie. David Harbour in Violent Night. This is more kind of Die Hard than it is Silent Night, Deadly Night. Santa Claus, who's kind of like this washed out Santa Claus, who's about, a few days away from being Dan Aykroyd at the end of Trading Places. He's a drunk. He's stops off at a bar. He ends up going to do his job and walks into a rich family's house who are being held hostage. And he's the only person in between the terrorists or whatever and the family, and helps them out. Some great, I mean, this is all, who was the director of this now? It was Tommy Wirkola. That was it. It was the guy who directed Dead Snow. He did Dead Snow and Dead Snow 2 and a few other things I think he's done for Netflix as well. I think didn't he do like the Hansel and Gretel movie as well? I think he did that too. But yeah, Violent Night, I think most people have probably seen Violent Night, but it is, you know, a hugely fun movie. It was a little bit more kind of surreal than what I expected when I watched it. But it's part of that group, and is it David Leitch, I think? Isn't it part of him? It comes from that kind of John Wick crowd. There's a bunch of them that were all sort of responsible for those producers. The kind of stuntmen turned directors and that. I think some of the producers of those movies are on this as well. There is a sequel coming along pretty soon too. Super violent. I was really surprised about how violent this movie is, but great fun. Really, really cool fun. Synopsis, as I've said earlier, is a group of mercenaries takes a wealthy family hostage on Christmas Eve. The real Santa Claus arrives and he's had enough. Santa turns action hero in this violent comedic Christmas carnage story. 73% with the critics, 88% with the audience. Tells you everything you need to know there. David Harbour steals the show in this for sure. It's also got, I think, Beverly D'Angelo's in this film as well. Let me just double check that. Yeah, John Leguizamo is the head of the kind of mercenaries that break into the house. Beverly D'Angelo, Alex Hassel, and Cam Gigandet, I think. Some really creative kills in this film. You think about Christmas, you've got icicles hanging around, all that sort of thing. He's there on the poster with his hammer. That gets used a few times. Well worth a watch, I would say. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Wasn't a huge success. It did okay. Christmas movies are weird, aren't they? I always find that people release Christmas movies late sometimes. You get some that come out in the November and they run all the way through Christmas. Then you get other movies that are released sort of late in December. And you're on a bit of a timer with a Christmas movie because once Christmas Day is over, no one wants to watch a Christmas movie. Everybody's like wanting to take their tree down and everything. So they always feel like they're short-lived. But it did 76 million worldwide on a 20 million budget. And it's got a sequel coming next Christmas. So it did well. I think it's well worth a watch. Okay, and then finally, my number 10. Well, the 10th film. Like I said, I'm not ranking these. One that I talked about in the video as well, Christmas Bloody Christmas. Joe Bagos, responsible for a number of kind of direct-to-streaming action / horror films. They're always of a fairly decent pedigree. I think he did, if I remember right, he did VFW. Is it VFW, I think? The one with all the veterans in the bar and the vampires and all that kind of stuff. He also did, if I remember rightly, he did, was it Black Friday as well? So these kind of like fairly decent direct-to-streaming, well-made, over-the-top horror / action pictures. And Christmas Bloody Christmas is another one of those. When I first saw Christmas Bloody Christmas, I was a bit put off because the version that I was watching it on Shudder, and I don't know what had happened, but whether there was an issue with the stream, I don't know, but all that neon light, and there's a lot of neon lighting in this film. It's kind of bathed in all sorts of Christmas lighting, so you get big red, green scenery in this film from lasers and things like that. And the stream wasn't great, and so it really spoilt the viewing experience. And so I came away from this a bit annoyed, but then I watched it again a couple of weeks ago, and I had a lot of fun with it. It's pretty relentless. It's pretty repetitive, but for a movie that was incredibly low budget, 2 million budget, and you have this kind of this military experiment, this kind of AI robot slash soldier, if you like, Santa Claus that's malfunctioned and goes on a rampage with an axe. It's completely unstoppable. I thought they did so well with the budget limitations that they had, creating this really sort of tense but fun action horror film. It's got a real, like, how can I describe it now? It's got a real 80s film feel to it. Like there's all this synth music throughout, like I say, with all the neon lights in it and everything. It's bathed in like 80s nostalgia. And so if you can get a really good version of it, like a 4K stream or something like that, it's gonna look fantastic. It really is. And so yeah, I really recommend this film. I think it was far better than what I expected. And if that director can do this with just 2 million quid, what could he do if you gave him 20? It's seriously. I mean, like, sometimes I think that filmmakers could do a lot worse than look at some of these movies that we get on streaming, some of these genre pictures, and say, well, hang on a minute, there is some talent there. This guy is a fairly decent director, is Joe Bagos. Riley Dandy, Sam Delich, Jonah Ray Rodriguez, and Dora Madison star. A robotic AI-enhanced Santa Claus malfunctioning in a small town goes on a killing spree. A record store owner must fight to survive the neon-drenched Christmas carnage. Yeah, there's a lot of language in this film. One of the points I've written down here is the language in it is just constant throughout. But no, that aside, it is really good fun. It is really good fun. But Santa used to be in service, I believe, says Devrick. Tony Foray says, I used to put my tree up on Christmas Eve and take it down on Boxing Day. I'm kind of like that as well. I mean, if it weren't for my wife, probably wouldn't put one up at all. Or buy one of those that just comes out of a box and stick it on the... And also when you got cats as well, they just wreck the damn thing. So, yeah, we've got a cat-proof tree now. Not a lot of originality in Christmas horror posters. I like that poster, actually. I quite like it. Because there's some great moments later on when he's been bashed around a little bit and you can see a bit more of the robot underneath. It's, yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. All practical as well. I watched Christmas Bloody Christmas when it first came out. It's okay, but not massively good, says Hot Garbage. Myers fan says, wow, really? We've talked 10 already. Obviously, the crack's good here. Tony Foray says, no Jaws 4 down. Don't you start. Enough with Shamrock. And James Stewart says it's like a hangout movie for the first half, then gets wild with the horror. Yeah, it's fairly pacey, isn't it? From the midway point onwards, it's pretty relentless. So yeah, so that is my. Oh, hang on a minute, there's one left. I do have one left. I totally forgot about this final one. Dave says, Darren, did you watch Christmas Buddy Christmas on Blu-ray or 4K this time? I watched a 4K version of it. You mean bloody? Okay, this next one, some of you may have seen, some of you may have not. We talked about Inside earlier, which was obviously part of that sort of French extremity period, which was, I guess, sort of inspired by the likes of High Tension. The director of High Tension, Alex Arger, one of my favourite horror directors, had a hand in writing and producing this next film, P2. Now, how many of you have seen P2? I think it's a really cool little thriller. It's a businesswoman, I guess, who's working late on Christmas Eve. She decides to leave. She goes down to the parking lot, and she can't get out. It's all closed up, and there's a guy in there. I think he's a security guard who's a little bit sort of, I guess, disturbed in a few ways. And you find out he's a little bit obsessed with her, and it's this kind of battle between the two of them in a parking lot over Christmas. It's a Christmas movie. It's the critics were pretty hard on it. I actually think it's quite oh look, there's a few people there saying I love P2. Excellent. One of my favorites. I love P2. Really keeps you on the edge of your seat. P2 is a great film. Wes Bentley, that was his name. I couldn't think of his name. Wes Bentley, wasn't he in American Beauty? Was that Wes Bentley? I think it was, right? In American Beauty. Yeah, he plays a really, really creepy guy in this. P2 is a creepy film. Wes Bentley has a very off-putting presence, and he really works that here. This is a hidden gem horror. I don't put Christmas stuff up. I have lights outside my flat on the street, and to me, Christmas is for families, not just me. Christmas is like dinner, and that's it. Sorry, I'm a bar humbug. No kids. Vanov says, I love P2 and I love her white dress. Oh my goodness. Wasn't P2 a Netflix movie? Was it? No, it was released. It had a 7.7 million worldwide box office. So it may have gone to Netflix in some territories. I seem to remember it having a release. P2 is a good one. My friend had been telling me to watch it for years, and I finally checked it out last year and really dug it, says Bill. Yeah, it's a decent little creepy, what would you call it, an infatuation movie. Yeah, it's definitely a horror. Rachel Nichols, Wes Bentley, directed by Frank Calhoun, and as I said, produced and written by Alex Arger. Andrew says P2 is desperate for a 4K release. It was a massive seller on DVD back in the day. Cracking flick. And Chester says, I've never heard of P2 before. Oh, check it out, Chester. You'll enjoy it, I'm sure. Brandon says, yeah, he was Ricky Fitz in American Beauty, loved weed, Reanimator, and plastic bags. Tony Four Eyes says, like the sound of P2. Definitely give it a go. I think it's well worth a watch. And I always forget about it being, set over Christmas. Now, I saw something. Now, there was one film I considered putting in this list, folks. Let me just switch back to the other stream now that we're done. There was one film that I considered putting in because I saw a petition today. Let me just pull this up on my phone. So you may remember the guys behind the Aliens Expanded documentary are doing a Thing Expanded documentary. And they're running a campaign right now. Let me show you that. Help make The Thing an official Christmas movie. They're launching a petition. With your help, we're aiming to collect 10,000 signatures for our petition, which we'll be sending to IMDb and Letterboxd to request they reclassify The Thing as a Christmas movie. What do you guys think of that? I'll read what they say. We're petitioning Letterboxd and IMDb to make The Thing an official Christmas movie. Will you help? Snow, isolation, paranoia. Isn't it time John Carpenter's The Thing took its rightful place as a Christmas movie? Think about it. The weather outside is frightful, and the fire is so delightful via flamethrowers. No one has a place to go. The chopper is a wreck. And it stars Santa Claus. Kinda. Well, Kurt Russell did play Santa Claus, didn't he? But what do you think about that? Are there any elements of The Thing that lead you to think that it's a Christmas movie? I was thinking today, now is there do we see some tinsel in some shots? Or is there anything that suggests that it might be Christmas? I mean, it's cold and it's wintry, but I don't think it's set at Christmas. It feels like they're going to struggle with that campaign. I think what are they aiming for? 10,000 signatures, was it? Yeah, we're aiming to collect 10,000 signatures for our petition. Let me have a look at this now. This one was all right, not the best, but entertaining. Oh, P2 you're talking about. I thought you were about this episode, Liana. Original Black Christmas, says Tony Four Eyes. Okay, where is the Thing stuff here? Okay, Myers fan says The Thing is not a fucking Christmas movie. Eddie Rodriguez says no way, that's a stretch. Tony Four Eyes says how the hell is The Thing a Christmas movie? No tinsel or turkey. Chunky Geordie says piss off, it's not a Christmas movie. Brandon says Dave's head will explode if The Thing is classified as a Christmas movie. I consider Carpenter's Christine more of a Christmas film than The Thing, says Rick. Duke says if The Thing is a Christmas movie, Home Alone is a creature feature. Antarctic winter is the summer for us, says Don Mac. It has no Christmas elements whatsoever. I didn't think it did, because I was trying to think, is there something that I'm missing? Yeah, no Christmas elements whatsoever. I'm sure someone tried to do it last year. Oh, really? Okay. If The Thing is a Christmas movie, then Aliens and Predator are horror. The other guy says, though I do consider movies like Die Hard a Christmas movie, I do not nor ever have considered The Thing a Christmas movie. It's a good film to watch in the winter, like Misery, but not Christmas. Gory Tiger says it's not a Christmas movie. And Chester Franklin Jr. says The Thing is a creature movie, not Christmas. Don Mac chimes in with P2 is one of the first movies I saw on Netflix streaming from when that was a new feature. Clerks is a courtroom drama. Yeah, I thought it was a bit of a stretch as well. I think it's a waste of an email there. You know, I've backed the film, you know, and you've convinced me it's a good enough project to throw money at, but you haven't convinced me that it's time to try and shift the genre of The Thing to a Christmas movie. Okay, thank you so much for joining me, folks. It's just a short live tonight, just an hour or so. Really appreciate all the support, as I said before, for the Horror of the 80s series that we did, those 11, 12 episodes or whatever it was. Thank you for the support on the Arrow video episodes that we did. I'd really like you to check out the Christmas Slasher episode that I did. The link is down below in the description. Please click on it and have a look at it, because I do want to do more of that stuff, and I do want you guys to feedback on it and let me know if it's what you want to see. And as I said at the start of the show, the new sort of format for the live show I'm trialing this weekend with a couple of friends. I'm going to do 2 episodes pre-recorded, and then if it works, I'll bring it out as a live format as well, and you guys can be interactive, be part of that process. And I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it will work. It's just about getting the right people on to be able to take part. So it should be fun. It should be fun. I think the next thing you'll see from me, maybe if I get, listen, I'm going away for a couple of days. If I get chance tomorrow, I might try and squeeze in a little episode of something. If not, you'll probably see something on Sunday at some point. But thank you guys for joining me tonight. I didn't expect so many of you to be here. That's really cool that there's been over 60 of you in watching this, when it was really a last minute thing. And, you know, Christmas in November as well, I thought was a bit of a stretch. Not as big of a stretch, though, as The Thing being a Christmas movie. But no, thank you so much for joining me, folks. I shall see you very soon. Cheers.